Good evening. Welcome to episode 89 of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. Happy Halloween, guys. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful, comfortable, and spooky-like conditions of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as well as on Substack. Hopping right into this episode, guys. This is the pretty much the how we want to say preview edition. Yeah, preview edition for Thursday Night Football. Texans versus Jets. That game will be coming up shortly, within a half an hour. Definitely want to do this episode real quickly to get to see you guys if you guys are putting in some bets or if you guys wanted some information on the game or what you guys thought my personal take was on the game. Nonetheless, I love you guys, and I'm always happy to bring this information to you. Hopping right into this episode, like I said, Texans versus Jets, Thursday Night Football. Ironically, weirdly, in Vegas, the Jets are favored by -1.5. Not sure why that is. I have no idea. Maybe they feel like because Stephon Diggs is out, no Nico Collins, it's going to be hard for the Texans to move the ball. Not really sure, but I have some stats here that I think might actually beg to differ, but we'll see. We'll be touching on also can Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams gel? Is Aaron washed? Will the Texans blow this team out? And can the Texans run game keep the Jets honest? So we're going to touch on all topics real quick. So hopping right into this. I kind of took, like I said, I took some time this morning before I started work to do like a deep dive on this. Really took my time to get into this, and like I said, bring you guys the hard hitting facts as always. So looking at the tail of the tape, looking at the Jets. Jets are a fucking mess. I mean, no one that has to, you don't need to be a mind reader or a fucking rocket scientist to figure that out. But 2-6, garbage. Third in the AFC is currently right now. Ranked offensively, as far as points scored, the Jets are 25th, which is just downright horrible. It don't matter if that was Zach Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, that's just shitty, not getting it done. And defensively, they are 11th in points allowed. Looking for quick and unlimited access to the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast? Will look no further than on Apple Podcasts. Listen to the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast on Apple Podcasts. QR code is available for quick access to the channel. Also, check us out on Spotify as well. Thanks. Have a great day. So, be that as it may, defense still trying to show improve, hold serve, in spite of the offense's lackluster effort. As far as the Texans, they're 14th as far as offensive points scored and 15th in defensive points allowed. So, right around middle of the pack with the Jets right there, right in the middle of everything. But looking at some of these numbers, it was quite startling. Like I said, I have some of the numbers posted here for you and let you look over it. But in all honesty, the Jets are not really a good team by any stretch of the imagination. I'm very shocked that they're picked to win tonight. I don't know why. From what we've seen from them in the past few weeks, I mean they've looked downright horrible. Just looking at some of the things, like I said, some of the games that they played. I mean they've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight losses, as we know, and then going into it, you just lost to the Patriots. And I'm expecting you to beat the Texans on Thursday Night Football in a short week when you couldn't even muster up a week's worth of preparation for the Texans. I mean, for the Patriots. So definitely don't think that's there. Also, another thing that I think definitely is in the Texans' favor that doesn't bode well for the Jets. The Jets against the pass are one of the best teams in the league defensively. However, against the run, they suck ass. On defense against the run, they are 17th in yards and 23rd in touchdowns, and they average 6 yards per rush. So that's not good. If you're a defense, not really sound. It really means that you could really get caught. You can get caught in one of those situations where a team could run effectively enough on you and keep you honest, and that way you're not really knowing where the pass game is coming from. And the Jets' defense is really predicated off of building a lead or having some type of a lead and being able to suffocate you on defense and allowing their playmakers to make plays to keep the defense in position to keep the game tight. And if Joe Mixon and the Texans are able to run the ball at all tonight, that's lights out for the Jets. Lights out, period. Because like I said, that's quite fucking horrible. Because against the pass, I mean, just to show you how crazy it is, against the pass, their defense, the Jets' defense is ranked second against the pass. So you got to give them credit for that. Got to give them credit for that. But again, running the ball is going to be the key for the Texans against the Jets. And if they can run the ball effectively and efficiently enough, that's going to keep the Jets on their heels where they're not going to be able to make any plays. Looking at it also, too, for the Texans, because the Texans aren't out of the woods. They haven't necessarily played great football this year. So I don't want to be remiss to make it seem like they've just been absolved of all blame or they've obfuscated blame as like the Jets have. But looking at some of the numbers, like I said, the Texans should definitely win this game. I mean, I know the injuries have piled up with Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins, but Dalton Schultz should definitely get touches tonight. I think Joe Mixon in the running game should definitely be a factor. I don't see any reason why that shouldn't happen. Their offensive line has played solid, not great, solid up until this point. And like I said, if my betting odds, I would say the Texans. But going further into the numbers, the Texans let's see, looking here. Hold on a second. Like I said, I went over the Texans rushing numbers right here, which is very remarkable. 13th in attempts, 18th in yards, which I think is very, very good. I think the Texans have definitely shown that they can definitely run the ball, and I think Joe Mixon has kind of showed the Bengals fucked up by not keeping him and re-signing him. So no disrespect to Cincinnati, but being real, Joe Mixon's definitely showing he's a good running back. And defensively, they're 8th in attempts and 13th in yards. So the Texans can stop the run. Now, what's interesting is looking here at the passing game, passing defense. They're 3rd in passing yards allowed, and they're 11th in attempts. So this is going to be a good matchup. Defensively, it may be a very tight game that people aren't expecting. People were kind of probably expecting a very high-scoring affair. Thursday Night Football has been fucking weird this year, where there's been games that started out snoozers, and then by the middle of the second or the middle of the third quarter, it winds up being a football game. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see how that all plays out. But I think, just like I said, bringing those stats to you, I think it was definitely important if you want to make any decisions going into the game. As far as Devontae Adams, can him and Aaron Rodgers gel? They better gel quickly because it's not looking good. It's not looking good. Since Devontae Adams has been a Jet, and I want to make sure I read these numbers correctly, 7 receptions, 84 yards, no touchdowns. It's been 2 games, but they've definitely tried to get him ingratiated into the offense. It's not working. It's not working. 2 games in, and that's just not enough. You've given up a 3rd or 4th round pick to get this man. You cannot get this type of production and think that this is okay. This is not getting it done in the least bit. And I'm not saying Devontae Adams is comfortable with that. I'm not even saying Aaron Rodgers is. But you got to put an emphasis and light a fire under these guys' asses if you're the Jets and you have any plans or intent of turning around your season. Because 7 receptions for 84 yards for a mid-round pick, for an aging quarterback who may not be there next year, and a receiver who may not be there next year, whoo, shit. But then again, this is the Jets, y'all. What are we talking about? Is Aaron Rodgers washed? I think that's an interesting question because I think Aaron Rodgers has played some of his worst football this year. And I'm not shocked by that because a lot of people are more or less like, well, how can Aaron play so bad? How can Aaron Rodgers play so bad? Like, it's just like, he looks terrible at times. I think the Achilles injury has definitely affected him. I think Aaron Rodgers has just realized, he's starting to realize now, like, oh shit, I don't have it like I used to. Where I can rely on my athleticism and I can make a few plays by, making a jump pass or doing something quick. Not really the skill set or mindset for an aged 40-year-old quarterback who was coming off an Achilles injury, who played 4 snaps the season prior. So, interesting. But Aaron Rodgers is definitely under the microscope this year, without question. I'm not sure if he finishes out the year, if this team is horrible, but looking at his numbers, Aaron has 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, pass rating of 85. Not Rodgers-esque, not 2022 by any standard to stretch of the imagination, but you know, this guy who was 6-7 points off of his passer rating from 2 years ago, and who's coming off a major Achilles injury, and unless he realizes now going into the end of the season or next year that he's going to have to recommit and realign his game and restructure his game, he might as well just fucking retire, because I don't really see how this is beneficial for him, because this is starting to give me real Joe Namath Los Angeles Rams vibes. Next topic, will the Texans blow this team out? I don't think so. As I previously just stated, I think this game is going to wind up being a lot tighter than what we expect. No Stephon Diggs, no Nico Collins. Texans are a very efficient running team. They're very good passing the ball. Jets are very good against the pass, not good against the run. So we'll see how all that plays out. But I think it's going to be a tighter game. And especially, like I said, not having two of your main receivers, having Tank Dell, having Dalton Schultz. You still have weapons out there, but to the plethora of weapons that you've had starting, maybe 2 weeks ago compared to now, night and fucking day. Night and day. And also, wrapping this up for the Texans, and wrapping this up for this segment, can the Texans' run game keep the Jets honest? It's going to have to be. It's going to have to be, because being that you're down two receivers, being that you got a tight end that you can rely on, quasi, you're going to have to really rely on Joe Mixon. Passing game, screen game, using them in the inside run plays, eating up yards. You're going to have to use Joe Mixon a lot tonight. So if you got Joe Mixon's anytime touchdown scorer tonight, or him getting on yards, definitely might want to put him on your ticket, because I think he's definitely going to be getting some touches. Definitely. And wrapping up this segment off the Thursday Night Football game, this topic I definitely wanted to touch on. This article was written by Mike Sando from The Athletic. And this article was also when he sat down and spoke with an anonymous, and I do put air quotes, an anonymous NFL executive. Topic was Brock Purdy. Like I said, I'll have the article in the description so you guys can definitely read the article. But the question was, the 49ers shrinking window and how the name of the article, 49ers shrinking window and how Brock Purdy fits. I'm not going to go into every single solitary detail with you. Like I said, I implore you guys to read the article. It was a fascinating read by Mike Sando. A great article. Excuse me. But going into it, they talked about him. They talked about, and I'll post right here in the stat for you. You can see it. How Brock Purdy outpaced Jimmy Garoppolo. That's great. That's great. Who gives a fuck? Jimmy Garoppolo, if you outpacing Jimmy Garoppolo, that's not saying much. That's the standard we're holding Brock Purdy to. He has to outpace Jimmy Garoppolo. Not good. Then you go into, San Fran has the third oldest roster in contrast to a team like Kansas City, who keeps beating their ass, whether it's Super Bowl or regular season games, who literally they are Kansas City's bitch. Kansas City Chiefs have the third youngest team. You got money tied up with Ayuk, money tied up with Kittle, money tied up with Samuel, money tied up with Trent Williams, money tied up with Christian McCaffrey, and you haven't even paid Brock Purdy. Which, you got people with the NFL executive in the article, which, again, take this for a grain of salt because the exec wouldn't put his name to it. But that being said, there's legitimate questions if they even bring this man back for a restructure if he doesn't really play well or show improve throughout the year. Because make no mistake about it, they've made a lot of excuses for him. And I would argue this, since the third quarter of the Super Bowl, he's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, I know people will argue, you don't know shit about football. Look at the throws this guy makes. He's elite. He's not fucking elite. He's not one of those guys. He doesn't have that it factor. In the article, the anonymous exec spoke to, he doesn't have that dude factor. Whatever term you want to use, he's not it. He's not it. And to compare him with Garoppolo is weak sauce, because, again, Garoppolo's ass, so that's not really a very high, bar. This roster is older, and let's not forget the true caveat to all of this. Shanahan and Lynch wasted draft picks. Yes, they've hit on mid to late round picks. Absolutely they have. Absolutely they have. Especially the safety they got out of Wake Forest. Another one of those mid to late round picks. Absolutely they hit Mustafa. Absolutely they've hit on late round picks. Here's the problem though, right? that Trey Lance trade, they're still paying debts on that. They're still paying their debts on that. And yeah, you got Brock Purdy, but as in the article touched, what did you replace with those other 2 first-round picks? Nothing. Now you have an injury-riddled old roster who's trying to win a championship. And make no mistake, they've been at this point before. They've been 3 and 4 many a times. Many a times. This team is by no way stretching the imagination out of it. But make no mistake about it. They stumble anymore along the stretch, this team's fucking cooked. I just really thought it was cute that they were trying to compare him to Garoppolo. No, compare him to his contemporaries and really show how he's played since the 3rd quarter of that Super Bowl. He hasn't really played like the guy y'all thought he was. And then you got him in the offseason talking about he's going to play like Tom Brady, he's going to elevate his game, or he's going to do all these things. Man, listen, pressure is on. Brock Purdy's fighting for a check. Kyle Shanahan's fighting to try to keep this thing together. There's no more juice left in the orange, in my personal opinion. And you need a fresh squeeze. And the only way you're going to really do that is with draft picks. So, make a break for the 49ers. Make a break season. But again, that's going to wrap up this preview for Thursday Night Football. I thank you guys as always for watching. Again, like, share, and subscribe. Check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on Substack. Take care. Happy Halloween, guys. Enjoy your evening. Stay safe. And enjoy the football game.